After tackling crime in D.C., 47 coming for the cartels. President Trump has reportedly approved using military force against the Mexican drug traffickers at the border. After classifying several as terrorist organizations, here's the Prez.
You know, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, you know, we're playing a tough game.
You know, Harold, in the green room, you said, I'm so happy Trump's doing this. When do we drop the bombs? I thought that was a little jumping ahead, but...
Look, there are two or three big names in foreign policy on this issue that I've listened to over the years. One is our own General Jack Keane, who has said over the years that in order to do something like this, unless he's changed his mind in the last few months, I just hadn't seen it, but in order to do something like this, you have to have the cooperation of the country that you're going to go into. You want to ensure that that cooperation includes cooperation from the law enforcement and judicial systems there in those countries. Now, and then Secretary Mark Esper, who has been an opponent of this. I'm curious if Secretary Esper may think differently about this. We were on a panel together a year or so ago, and he made the comments and made some convincing, persuasive comments. But the president's persuasive here, too. At the end of the day, these cartels are as great a threat to our border and our kids in our communities. When you look at the avalanche of drugs and other things and trafficking that's coming to our country in other ways, including humans. So if this talk here, I think sometimes President Trump is liable for thinking out loud with really, really big things, even things that can't happen. Now, some might have thought 8 weeks ago, if we were sitting here, that the president could not have choreographed a plan to attack the mountain that has nuclear material in Iran and get our men and women out of there safely as quickly as he did. That plan was flawlessly executed. It was choreographed flawlessly as well. So I hope the president applies the same thinking and the same kind of planning he did to that, if indeed he's going to do this. But this sounds like, much like the Iranian issue, the Iranian attack had, we had the full cooperation of the Israelis who knocked out the air system. We're going to have to have the cooperation of Mexico and Colombia and other places if we're going to do this.
Charlie, that was amazing. I'm not sure if he's for or against it.
I'm for it. If you can get the cooperation of these countries, but unless you're able to do that, you can't do it. I mean,
that leads me to my other question, which is, who do you cooperate if they're corrupt? Like their authorities.
Oh,
everybody there is like in bed with the cartels.
Yeah, well, that's
including Harold.
That's what makes the problem such an impossible problem. But I've always sort of likened Donald Trump, the way he runs for public office the way a mayor does. He looks at practical problems. All the politicians in Washington are all these ideologues that stake out their ideological positions. And he's always looking at things like a mayor, like, I'm going to go fix these potholes over here. It's why he's talking about wanting to fix the city. It's why every time when he was, during his interregnum, when he was not in D.C., he would talk about, like, when he went to D.C., it's garbage everywhere, trash everywhere. Yeah. Talk about how gross the bridges are and all that kind of stuff. It's actually not a bad way to kind of look at things. It's a very practical way of looking at it. You know, if you went back and we could get our billions and billions of dollars that we have spent all over the world, Afghanistan, Middle East, Ukraine, and delve all of that money into like fixing Mexico, that might actually do a lot to like help average Americans.
I would rather get Mexico as a state than Canada. There's more fun stuff in Mexico, Dana. You know,
way better people.
You of all people know that, little partier. What do you think about the fact that the Mexican president says there will be no invasion? Shoes on the other foot now, lady, huh?
Yes, and if anyone is confused about what this means, the New York Times had a gigantic feature this weekend, front page, about the cartels. And the cartels said, we don't care. We are not going to stop. There is demand. We're making money. We don't care. So it would be ideal for Claudia Sheinbaum to do this herself, but she's unable to. And in some ways, I would, if I were her and she were serious about cleaning up her country, I would say, can you help us out for 30 days? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then just help me to get a handle on it, because it is so endemic into the system. I don't even know if the bombing will help. The bombing will help stop the initial product from coming over, but we do have a larger problem. A lot of this stuff now is being made over here. I didn't realize until this, I did realize it, but the number stuck with me again today. In the last 4 years, there were 275,000 deaths from fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And so what the president is saying is that we want them to deal with it themselves, but we have to protect our country. So that's why the consideration is there.
It's like 5 times the number of deaths in Vietnam from the Vietnam War from fentanyl. Just did the math.
I mean, it's horrific, but I want to talk about the numbers for a second because this is what's driving the cartels. And to understand the depths to which they will go to prevent us from breaking them up, they make $50 billion a year alone just on illicit drug sales, about $30 billion annually from us, from this country. And then you add in the extortion, the kidnapping, the fuel theft, et cetera. That's another $6 billion plus. The CJNG gang, which is sort of the new, the most dangerous gang at this point, they make over $13 billion just from crystal meth and cocaine. So we need to focus on the money laundering. When you talk about having $50 billion worth of illicit funds, what are they doing with it? Who is helping to cover for them? We know that China is their largest bank, essentially, and their largest collaborator in terms of the money laundering. But if we are really serious about this, then we need to go deep into these international, all of the bank accounts, all of the fiscal accounting that needs to occur to claw it back and cut them off from the funds, because right now there is zero accountability for it. So on China, these cartels are working feverishly right now to separate themselves from China. They are working to create all of the properties of fentanyl on their own and the other drugs so they don't have to be so dependent on them. You asked about the President Sheinbaum and what her position is right now. Mexico just had its most violent election in history. Why? Because of that deep corruption, including her. So we know that she helped put 10,000 National Guard onto the border in the last couple of years. She said, oh yeah, we want to help. But she said, but don't bring your people into the country. Why? Because it looks so bad. And also because if she really wanted to annihilate the cartels, then she would have done so. The deeply embedded corruption there in Mexico, I think, is hard to overstate. And during this time, by the way, cartels have pivoted. Canada only goes through 1% of their imports. They are proliferated Canada, and they don't have the same gang and cartel identification that we do here. So right now, Canada is what we were during the Biden administration on the southern border. So the way to win this, some say, is if we do have the special ops go in, it's to pit the cartels against each other. Have these dogs obliterate each other, because if it's us against them, they will stop at nothing to protect their income, and we cannot rely on Mexico as an ally to keep it strong. And if you want to know more, follow Katarina Schultz. She is an incredible
I think now I know
reporter.
everything.
But the other way to do it is we should stop using the drugs. We should stop using drugs.
Yeah, good
mean,
point.
just say no.
Do you think cartels have HR departments? I don't know. It's kind of curious. They're
suggestion box
and a complaint
maybe
hotline.
they just need a good HR department.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.